Hello, Americans. The World Trade Center has rules with people who have been attaching little kids since founding to fake conversations with everyone around themselves. Since founding with medical families, foreign and domestic medical intelligence families, judging freedom with Judge Napolitano. They're making topics in the news. Better than the news is CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. But their sources, all their sources, and the difference of that is being used remotely, black pupils. The World Trade Center attack has roles with this too, because the people that work at the World Trade Center attack were also told lies about me tactically by the people involved with the Ninth Circuit Court next to it in the World Trade Center attack context. And since these are people rules of predicate acts with facts, black pupils. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police force. I'm not a criminal. Part of the reason there are so many problems is because we have the sciences talk tactically denatured. Others communicated for James Madison than he communicated in our founders. We were told, I read, we were supposed to communicate that James Madison was the face of our founders. And then they went and got George Washington. Then to use James Madison's plan to make a country out of nowhere, where things like slavery and witch trials were entrenched, even if the evidence is tainted regarding that. That's why we were led by we know the slavery was entrenched. That's one of the things that witch trials were. We know that a breaching method entrenched it, but we don't know that because our campuses left it blamed on other. As collusions with the defenses of the best campuses, oh, I love my campus, or the worst, or I hated my campus. Either way, because the simultaneous has gotten over on, because the hyper simultaneous has gotten over on. We could be systems, tactical terror. We could be systems other than its own with the simultaneous, but only it is the hyper simultaneous. For example, as that scientific value, where its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that being what causes the other species bodies to have the same quality aspects in nature as humanity's, individually, grouped difference, hyper difference / S. This is what the ancients revealed. This is more probable and practical and increasingly discernible. In his last YouTube video live stream, I keep trying to get a response. You cannot get the Wethersfield, Connecticut Interbranch has been switching names and forging names with people increasingly at each campus I went to who've been putting who have roles with people from off campuses putting faked and changed things in databases because these is behavior racketeering on a mass scale. Black pupils. Here! Who spoke for the suburbs? The suburbs were designed before our founders were even born. New York City. This is a semi-ancient trap. Someone must rap. Boxings. I teach those things. Boxing, martial arts, and wrestling are about fighting, but by the rules. All kinds of criminally foreign influence uses of lawyers and of nurses and doctors personally and professionally involved with the same houses near me. And they're starting the fights because they have foreign bodies involved with them since they were kids. These are people that don't even live here anymore, too. People with the name O'Brien, with the Hartford Police Departments, Rocky Hill Police Department, Sandy Hook, Wethersfield, Rocky Hill, Newington Police Departments, involved with people with the name Cololo, who have some Wethersfield police who attached me to fake conversations with them as a kid and now as an adult in the police station. On a mass scale, police forms in courts where they self-value roles, blaming other things other than themselves, criminal foreign influences, things like that, tactical delusions. So in other words, you guys are raised by campuses that had the short words, let alone their protraction, employed by the breaching method to sense and discern. Who's going to appreciate the Constitution unabridged? Who's going to appreciate what we are really supposed to defend and communicate for and about? James Madison and our founders and his plan. And that which then George Washington just happened to be the one who agreed to it. And then they had to counter extort the other 13 locations to make a whole bunch of other founders. But none of them have been liberated yet. The Constitution stands abridged. See, even the best judges, like Judge Napolitano, in other words, the reason all the judges have flaws, black pupils, is because the difference between them being criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought, the overt criminal enterprises, private ones, insidiousness of the people A through Z, with their logic, where it is collusion / S with the replacement of the communications of our founders, which is greater than, more finite than, and is active relativity to what they say, not leaving out how the breaching method was measuring and maintaining through ourselves. What it was sensing and having employed the sense and the sensibilities too, to examine those words for the definition of them before we come to James Madison. I mean, before we come to, we don't leave before we come to, not Harriet Beecher Stowe, I forgot, but Harriet Beecher Stowe and Mark Twain House too. This is connected with people associated with former director of the FBI, Robert, and names on up the Connecticut State Judicial Branch offices. Hartford Hospital said there's a Casper family involved with this. So there's some patients and their criminals and nurses and doctors and judges and prosecutors, personally and professionally, who have been using locations like Hartford Hospital for mental health forced evaluations. But it's also their roles with New Britain campuses. So the intelligence community is not just the 3 branches of government. And these are increasingly names on the state corrections offices. I never had a word of conversation with him, Lance Cuddy. I never saw him on a campus in my life. I don't know if it's a campus, the state corrections offices. He was in a house right next to it. He had been property there. He's one of the ones involved with Ray Colora with Wethersfield Police wire crimes, and with a principal child defender involved with the Leahy family, and Rick Cianfaglione, and a Jonathan Liano, involved with various natures of abuses of little kids and elderly, and their roles next to veteran homes, where location / S is involved. And I never hung around with Jonathan Liano when I was a kid. And then when I graduated, but then I was supposed to graduate. And that teacher who held me back, I never had a personal conversation with her. She's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated increasingly involved with predicate acts with facts methods. I recorded before I had her class, after I had her class. And it's she recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed through communications that Mike Pandolf and others with conjunctions and adjacents to Route 175 and to Route 3 and like Route 75 right through towns too. And on off, these are people involved with names next to campuses who are involved with identity thefts, frauds, and slanders, also with the news. Fox News, MSNBC. Fox News, Fox Connecticut News, and names next to their location. There are Mendez, people with the name Mendez. I don't know their names, and they switched their names. They've been attaching little kids to fake locations, including with a principal of a child abuser. There are more people with even worse sexual abuses of little kids through time, and medical. It might be mixed up where they tried to influence people to do fake instances, because they increasingly do that, where that's also where they're making confessions, the people they're having do that with them a Ray Cololo and a Tim O'Brien have something to do with a Rick Cianfaglione and others. I don't know the names of them yet. Associated with corners of streets that schools are on, with planting evidences, with judges and prosecutors. There's a Brian Silver involved with a Connecticut district court who has been roles with a Leahy family with medical and sexual abuses of little kids and their families, attaching them to fake words with themselves and with everyone around themselves and with their families. And as their roles with Weathersfield Police and FBI and other police departments, pretending little kids came in and had conversations with them about criminal issues. Because that's one of the tricks they do. They have people bring up a Chris Walters has roles with people with that name. I don't know their name. I don't know their names. So and so in other words, and I barely know him. I only know him from he sought me out as a stranger to make confessions. The one exception when I was in Tiger Cubs. In other words, years later, and he came. In other words, people from other areas knew where I lived, and they planted evidence on my street that is recorded as the ones who were involved with the Weathersfield Police right now. See, they're bringing everyone, making everybody use each other's names with what they said because they have foreign bodies involved. And they measure and maintain they need to hide lives with them now. There are people from Pakistan. There are people from Italy. There are people from Korea involved with people with the name Demaro Cololo who have wire crimes in Weathersfield Police, per Weathersfield Police, switching and forging names, and per themselves, other ways, other natures of ways. Has something to do with their roles with Hartford Hospital. And they've been attaching kids and their family members to fake uses of drugs and alcohol through time by trying to do little tricks and take pictures. All kind of ways, different. There's a Christopher Cullen. I never saw him out in my life. Only time I ever saw him, he sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. He's one of the ones involved with people involved with various natures of organized crime with grammar school kids. And I classed with him in my life. There's a Jennifer Smith involved with judges and prosecutors, planting evidences with a Cullen family and with a Jennifer Smith and relatives of people they have fake conversations with me where I lived at other places. Then they even the family members of my old babysitters, who I love, by the way, but love everybody. All exception nature. I want to deal with the facts because I minded my own business for that. Because these people are using corners of streets and buildings since I was a kid, and there are connections between them. And then it got brought up how it was tied to the World Trade Center attack, and I figured out what it is about because there are collusions that are recorded there. They forced Saudi Arabia to collusions. But no, don't leave out how the Saudi Arabian people, their identity was used remotely, forcing us to collusion as defense. Forcing. See, that's all sides are being, we have to make another side. We're in a semi-ancient trap. You guys go back and forth. You know, you're not listening. What came first? You guys don't listen to what came first. The Old Testament, for example, even the religion. You have the people that counted the religions and the religions as collusion, produce of location /s. And collusions with that, by the breaching method that everyone forced, it knew it would be manifest at locations like campuses where the sciences are manifest. With a way that they have, there is an identity of value progression. That is their identities. Boxing, martial arts, and wrestling, they share grouped, being about fighting, but they are simultaneously about where this identity of positive will only say positive by onto itself. All exceptions and exception nature are in demonstration of the same thing /s, such as Leith of High D's. But this is per definition of lethal IDs that we can read from nature itself. In other words, we could be systems other than its own, but the value of its identity of relationship to itself that won't increase, it will only increase because it's increasing identity of volume. It will force our special difference from here, least of IDs. And we are Earth's a special difference. So we have been systems technical ulterior from its own for a long time. But that's only because we are one little species. We have been causing negative value nature progression. And see, the only reason they are self valued, going to outer space, for example, and people don't realize, is because this took possession in semi ancient times without anyone realizing through defenses of themselves, tactically, of defenses of that. It took remote uses of it. So the people involved with this also use phrases like there's a everyone uses other people's names. There's a Mr. O'Connor, and there were other people with the name O'Connor. Two, I believe a mother and daughter are two of the teachers that were brought up with the confessions tied to a Michael Emmett, also recorded. But the police and the courts have been fabricating evidences. These are people with remote uses of Judge Napolitano's Facebook page before he left Fox News. Fox News and Fox Connecticut News has names with the buildings next to them, involved with federal evidences, crime methods with them, child abuses methods with them. The same names are involved on off elderly homes with them, rules with untimely death on Trinity College. Dear President Berger Sweeney, there's a Mark Violet, and there are people with the name Leahy who are involved with the FBI and other foreign and domestic military families on my street who they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Roles with federal crimes with Hartford Hospital, with drugs and medicines crimes with child sex offenders, identity thefts and fraud slanders. They also have rules with a girl dragged to her death from the side of Hartford Hospital, reported, even if it was made up. That girl's involved with Mike Violet and a Mark Violet with military on off the state capitol, involved with the Hartford Hospital and the Yukon and Trinity College, Central Connecticut State University, with the names next to their houses too, next to their campuses. They have rules with Los Salitos and other criminal enterprises and people next to body dumping spots who have and have had roles with predicate acts with facts in the forms of federal evidences crimes as natures of identity theft, fraud, slaves, fake motivations planting. This is all they are capable of being interbranch. So talking heads is one of the things they say. They also have people, once you use their name, they can't know the words. They've been trained since they were kids. Where that training is to hide is used as collusion slash S, with fake things being stuck in databases. And there are all kinds of ways. There are all kinds of predicate acts with facts as the answer, methods that are singularly connected as the answer to what is wrong with the schools, A through Z in our states, intercities, to the differences between the campuses, including public schools and private schools. They're mixing that and making it look like it's natural. In other words, I was just wanting to go into the campus because I would go to the other campus, and I was in town that day. They're putting illusions in databases. They're keeping all sides in criminal and civil cases used remotely at the same time with the interbranch, switching names, forging names, putting sequence ships, self-valuing roles with fake evidences. Investigators have been used remotely since founding black pupils. So we have to have mandated law followed. And you can't trust the police. They have wire crime acts and methods. And we have no choice but to trust the police. That's why we have to have them follow mandated law, but they have no choice. They made a choice. So we have to address the original abridgments We have to address this too, because every day everyone should know everywhere what's slavery about. It's about a predicate expert fax delivery system method that was entrenched in northern colonies and southern colonies, sickly distinctly. So to be functionally by the breaching method to measure and maintain, individually grouped and together, effective remote uses of that self value by people A through Z, right where they wanted and needed to counter it more than anything, increasingly per nature. I'll ignore. Follow mandated law, please. WFSB, WTNH, and Fox Connecticut News. Please do what's right. And whoever does it first, I'll sign. I won't sue you. Because these are also World Trade Center predicate acts rules. Every year since before the World Trade Center attack, the FBI and the Hartford courts and the Britain courts, they affected confessions to me that I confirmed and recorded after the attack, as the ones from Connecticut involved interstates and with the names on the Ninth Circuit Court next to it. Yeah, let's get them on. Well, I shouldn't have to beg to get people online regarding rape threats. And the Britain Superior Court has rape threats and other passion crimes before the principal child abuser was caught and after the pattern of requests for help per their roles with the FBI and the judges and prosecutors planting evidences with investigations. Investigators used remotely so they could keep using campuses and their houses and remotely because they are being used remotely. A whole bunch of other countries involved with these same names, time collusions with them, names next to body dumping spots. Yeah. Follow mandated law and the news, and we have to listen to talking heads, to use their own phrase.